And welcome back, everyone, to the Nullified Tech channel here on YouTube, where we've got the TNT takes for you on Traitors New Zealand. And can I just say, wow, what an incredible week. Once again, such a fantastic week. And we're here to break it all down with a very lovely guest as well. But just before I get to the sexy man on the right, let's start off with the beautiful lady on the bottom. She has been by my side for so many different shows. We've experienced many heartbreaks together and triumphs together at the same time. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the lovely, the beautiful, the amazing V. V, how are you?
Just call me Dead-Eyed V. My new nickname.
Because you're feeling kind of dead-eye, I think, let's bring someone a little bit more alive to the podcast. You get what I mean? Someone who brings so much positivity to the show. He was one of the first people I've ever interviewed. Ladies and gents, please welcome the winner of Traitors New Zealand Season 1, Sam Smith. Sam, how are you?
Can I just say co-winner? It was co-winner with Anna Reeve. But yes, thank you for a lovely introduction. It's lovely to be back to talk about, my beloved Traitors. I'm wearing my Traitors cap that I got. And I think, do you like it?
Don't get me started on that hat. I love a good hat, Sam. Like, did you get that from the first season or?
Even though I was on the show in season 1, I did not get it until I helped to write some of the did some of like the script stuff for the season this year. So that's when they gave this to me, and all the people in the crew got one as well. So I believe myself and Dylan Reeve, who was an editor on the show, we're the only 2 cast members from season 1 that got one. So it's pretty special. I really like it. I wear it in this room all the time.
Has Dylan been watching the series of the Traitors? Do you know his thoughts and feelings on it?
I know exactly that he has been, because I talked to him on my podcast about the show, and he had some wonderful behind the scenes things. What can I say that doesn't break his NDA? Yes, I'm not sure what I can say, but yes, he has, and he's been loving it. He actually edited episode 8, which was a very good episode, the Tuesday episode this week.
Josh, my cousin, has also been loving this show. And he's been dying to come on this podcast. But I feel like, we've got to leave space for you, for Dylan one day to come on, like Julia, obviously. Like, we're getting the whole gang back together, Sam, and I'm so glad
keep them coming. Keep all the players coming, because we love talking about the show so much. It genuinely is quite like therapy, getting to talk about the show. so we like it a lot. I want how you guys have been enjoying it. You guys have been liking it.
Yeah, absolutely. Far better than last season.
Whoa.
Loving it. I'm personally loving it, but not so much as Andre has been loving our podcast. Andre, thank you so much, brother, for another cheeky $10 donation. You are a superstar, my friend. And poor Noel applied for the Traitors and is getting a full Survivor Big Brother experience. For context, how weak members are.
I think he's even getting the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills treatment, really. He's getting full-on ambushed.
My God, I think he's so clever. He's such a great player. I've kind of reached out to him on Facebook because I want to talk to him about the whole experience. I just feel like it's so difficult being under that pressure just once. I never had it ever throughout my entire time on the show. He's had it every single day, every single night. The poor guy, I think he's been put through the ringer. It's absolutely awful. Poor Noel.
Never would I ever wish the pressure that's been put on Noel to be put on my worst enemy. I feel like every week, it's just something more on Noel. And literally one of the main notes I left for going into next week's episodes is Ciali just won't leave Noel alone. Every time Noel's in the clear, Ciali's like, nah, Noel, you're pretty sus, mate. You're pretty sus. V, what's your thoughts on this week?
Well, yeah, I feel like they should just banish, murder him, or make him a traitor, put him out of his misery at this point. But yeah, It was pretty twisty this week. If you know, especially when Mark was involved. I think he
God, that is the greatest faithful move of all time. And I'm big on the greatest moves, the most strategic, cleverest moves in games. And holy shit, Mark Mockridge, I would take my hat off if it wasn't underneath my my headphones to that man. Because wow, what a strong play for someone who had a bit of ground to make up to cover for some previous bad faithful actions. But man, that is the coolest. I'm faithful through and through. For my team, the fact that he did that, I think, is just the greatest move.
Well, he threw himself on the sword and no one knew until they watch it back.
So good. Oh.
People say that Sam from Traitors Australia Season 2 was one of the most ballsiest players to ever play. Just how much pretty much shit he created and somehow got out of it was just mind-blowing. But Mark this season, Sam, I feel like has topped it. Like, he literally was like, you know what? It would be really funny if I just get eliminated. No one will suspect it, so I'm just gonna go. What's your thoughts on all of this?
Quite funny that that has happened. Like, and you would compare it to Bad Sam. When I was on the show, I was Good Sam and he were Bad Sam. Our shows were on at the same time. So I just I just feel like they're completely different people. Like, Mark, I think, is quite a genuinely honest and open person who just loved being in the game. Whereas Sam, I think, is Bad Sam, is properly evil and kind of ruined that season. Whereas I think Mark was an absolute joy to behold, and with his lovely notebook and his proper gamesmanship and full blown analysis of the show. I thought he was really, really good.
Right? And V, like, once again, Mark's notebook is turning the tide of this game. Like, I keep making fun of him for his notebook, but his notebook was the reason why Jane gets eliminated.
Well, I thought he was just going to flat out just extort Jane. And I was living for that. I was living for that for a second. And then he's like, actually, no, I'm just going to walk away. And I was just like,
sadly,
it was bizarre.
Sadly, Jane does get eliminated here. And Sam, for me personally, one of the best traders to ever play this game is your friend Brooke Howard-Smith. I think he perfectly encapsulates the Traitors game and played one of the best games I reckon the franchise has ever seen. But I feel like Jane was also doing extremely well up until like the notebooks. So like, how could have Jane avoided this in your eyes?
The Traitors tend to do a weird thing where we saw it in the Traitors Quebec. If you hadn't seen it, every which was in French, we watched it, and despite not speaking French, but you could clearly see that the Traitors just really, really tire out. They get to this point where you just see them forlorn. There was one in the Traitors Quebec who one day just didn't wear makeup, and despite being, I think she was a hairdresser, so she was always quite well put together. Is that the term for? She was just wearing makeup. But you just see it on the days where people get so downtrodden. You just see these. It must be so tiring to be a traitor, and it's pretty exhausting being a faithful. But when you're actually a traitor, you have to do so much more to stay alive in game and stay out of trouble. Especially when someone like Utah is in the game and he's viciously gunning people down in every direction. I think Utah is an amazing faithful, but I think probably too prominent.
Utah has put himself so far ahead. He's like, I am the faithful. I'm the full embodiment of the word faithful. But V, just like in Survivor, when you stick your neck out too far, people are gonna gun for you. And while Traitors is a different game to Survivor, do you think Utah's name is going to expire soon? Do you think he will get murdered or potentially even voted out at some point?
Well, it's up to Bailey now, which is interesting because I feel like those two had a connection there. And I wonder if, since Bailey knows what Utah's thinking, if she would eliminate that threat straight up or if she'd honor that relationship that they had built. I'm really curious to see what she's going to do. If she's smart, he should probably be the first to go.
V, what would you have done in the situation where you were Jane and you had Bailey and Mark there? Would you have picked those two to be the people that you would murder one and pick the other to be a traitor? By the way, a new thing to the game, which I think is so awesome, having people beg for their life in front of you. What a cool thing.
That was fabulous. And you know what? I probably would have made the same decision as her. I think I would have been fascinated to see what Mark would do as a traitor. And I actually think he could have been a little bit like a sacrifice, because he may be just too chaotic that they'll come for him straight up. And so I think I would have made the same decision. I would have been just as shocked as Jane at Mark walking away. But I think we missed out on an opportunity to see what he'd be like as a traitor. So I'm a little bit sad for that.
Well, Sam, so we do see Bailey doesn't get picked to be a traitor by Jane at first. So then when Mark walks away and you're Bailey at that point, you were literally just chosen to be killed. You weren't chosen to be a traitor with her. And we do see Bailey does throw a vote onto Jane. At that point, are you trusting Jane? Are you wanting to work with her since she didn't even choose you to be a traitor with you?
Exactly. That's a really good point. Like, I think you've just immediately set up this horrible conundrum with the one person that's there with you who has a lot of heat in them. I'm talking about Jane is there and has a lot of heat on her off the back of Mark's note going to Utah. Then you've got the person that you have with you. You've just tried to murder, and you're the only person who knows about it. So Bailey is in such a strong situation when we get to that point, and we'll see what happens with that later in this episode.
You have a great point there, Sam, because Bailey is in a great spot. No one's really thinking of her as a traitor or anything. She is currently the lone traitor. Do you think there is a path there for her to get to the end?
Absolutely. And if she's smart about who she recruits as a fellow traitor or seduces, then I think she could actually take it pretty far, because she is really smart and she is a dark horse. I think she'll play it really well. I think she's got two crucial decisions. It'll be the first person she murders and the first person she recruits.
Zero ideas do I have about who I would pick in this situation, right? Because everyone, I don't feel like there's anyone in the game that a lone traitor could seduce, get in time, or it's not a seduction, is it? What's it called when it's a blackmail? Could you blackmail that would that someone, either you've been lying to someone the whole time and they're really pissed off at you, or you can if you get someone in who is a strong player, someone that you can work together, that you think you can work together. If they're strong, they're probably just going to oust you. They're going to suddenly talk your name. I feel like Bailey has been strong though, so it's really difficult to choose. So if it was me, I think I'd choose. It's hard to say. I think the thing to do though is to get into that the Pacific Ring of Fire and somehow take one of those guys, or the bubble. These are the bubble, which is the other group of people in the game. You've got to, and which Bailey is part of already. So I think she needs to do something to get into that other group of people to take them down. How about you, Mucky? What would you do?
Another thing I think, just to add on to that list, is to recruit someone who has not been heard of throughout this game. We've seen Mike talk about you got to watch out for the ones who aren't making waves, who aren't really been talking about, like Ben or even Kat. I feel like Kat is a great example as well. Recruit them and then work together to break down the Pacific Rim of Fire, because at the moment they are controlling the whole game. What's your thoughts on that, Sam?
Bloody great name, Pacific Ring of Fire, by the way. That group with that and Dead Eyes and all the things that all the names that those guys come up with, they'd be so good. but yeah, I completely agree with that. I think if I was in there, the person that I would be scared of the most, aka the person I would then try and sidle up with and really get on side, would be Kat. I think Kat is. I think people are scared of her. I think she's real strong. She doesn't take any shit from anyone. I think she was really funny with dealing with Mark, but she called him an arrogant prick. That's quite a bold thing to say to someone who's, I presume, a little bit spectrumy. So yeah, for me, Kat is the person that I would desperately be trying to be on side with, no matter which of those groups I was in. Yeah. It's the same way I thought about Colin from my season. So Kat and Colin, it's people with C's for first names that I really would try and get on side, or like I did with Colin, get him out of here.
Colin and Kat are both like really great names you bring up there, Sam, because I actually had a thought today just before we hopped on that both of them are playing kind of similar games in a weird way in terms of they're like with the main group, but they're also like, forming all these other connections and stuff. Colin, I thought, was maybe a bit more strategic than what Kat seems to be at this point in time. But someone else who I've really been thinking about is Donna. What's been your thoughts on Donna so far this season, Sam?
Donna has always been one of my favorites. I think for the same reason, when I watch her, whenever I watch the show, I always think of, who's me in this group? Who is the me? Mike was dancing, so is in this version of the game. So I'm always looking out for who is me. Someone who's a bit quieter, someone who isn't an absolute silent person, but tries to get in there. And Donna's done a couple of little things that sort of make her stick out a little bit. But I think it's either Donna or maybe Ben. Just as people are sort of going by a little bit, being a little bit strategic. I think Donna is a bit louder than I was. And I think one of the big things in this game is to not be a threat to anyone. That's where I think Donna is a little bit different from the way I would play the game. But yeah, I think I love Donna. I think she's great. I really I really feel like she is playing a game that was very similar to mine. V, do you have a favorite? Do you have someone that you're gunning for, or someone that you think maybe not even that you're gunning for, someone that you? No, I will say who you're gunning. Someone that you want to win. Who would you like to take out this game?
I was a Jane fan. Actually, Jane and Mike. I went into this week really excited, and now they're both gone. I liked Mike's demean, the dead-eyed Mike thing. I actually quite liked because I just thought the neutral thing was an interesting way to do it. I was really hoping that he'd go far, and then I was like, well, we've still got Jane. And, she's strong. She came out with like guns a-blazing in the first episode and debated her way to stay. And then, so I'm going to have to find a new, and I also liked Mark as well, just to see what he was going to do. So I like Bailey. Look, I think she's smart. I want to see her thrive and really make something special of her game. I wonder what it would be like if she actually recruited Utah, a little bit like they did in season 2 of American Traitors, where just to see him murder all his friends.
Exactly. That would be such great TV. Like, especially trying to force Utah in that position where he has to like murder some of his alliance members and stuff. Because then otherwise it starts becoming suspicious. Very similar in the American Traitors, where you've got this core group of 5. Well, at some point, one of them is going to be a traitor. So you might as well start infiltrating that group. Sam, if you're in Bailey's situation, who would you pick out of the people that's left?
Man, it's so hard. Like, I wouldn't be in that situation. I'm a faithful guy. At V, I noticed that everyone you pick that you like is either Mark or a bad faithful or the 3 traitors. Like, Like, I know the show is
do have
called
a
The
type.
Traitors, and everyone likes the Traitors more, but they're wrong. They're the baddies. They're blue.
I do like the traitor. I'm sorry. I am a traitor, a sympathetic traitor. I love him.
Yeah, you like the evil people. But to answer your question, I would say that. So yeah. So if I'm Bailey, it's got to be either Ciale, Utah, Jay. It's got to be Jace. Joe would be amazing, but I don't think Joe understands the game at all. I think Joe is being a very unthreatening person. So yeah, I think it would have to be Jason. He. I suppose in that situation, I would know that he was secretly an ex-cop and all that stuff. So I don't think the people in the house knew that. In the manor knew that. Yeah, so I would say I would be trying to get that Uncle Jace, get him on side. Then the two of us would work from the two sides to get them on board. Oh, geez, it would be nice to play a season of this game. Wait a second, I keep forgetting. I was in this season. I was in episode 1. What? I forget that we filmed it so long ago. I forget that I'm in the show. Oh man, I wish I got to stick around more and hang out with those dudes because they're playing an awesome game. I absolutely love it.
Going back a bit, Sam, it's quite interesting that you brought up, that V does quite like the Traitors because, as you know, I like to do smartest move of the week, right? At the end of all of our podcasts. V has backstabbed and betrayed me at every opportunity when it comes to smartest move of the week. She forced a tie with Eileen last week just to spice it up a bit and then helped convert Julia to their side.
You got to create chaos. Got to create chaos, even in this stream. Got to do it. I'm a traitor through and through.
V is the ultimate traitor, but we've talked a little bit about Jane, but let's bring it back to what sort of happened in the first episode of this week. We do have Mike and Sam. Mike, like I just feel like the power just really got to his head. You get what I mean? Like he pulled a big move on Whitney, and he's like, "Who's the man? I'm the man." You get what I mean? What's your thoughts on Mike's downfall throughout this first episode?
How do I wrap up Mike? Yeah, to me, Mike, like I said, he's like Dan from our season. But I also I also wrote an article about him for Women's Day, which is coming out next week. And so I got to talk to him sort of post the episode, and that dude is the nicest man in the world. He is so lovely. He's got an absolute heart of gold. And I think he went into the game being like, oh yeah, shit, yeah, I want to be a trader. I want to do all that. And then when he started playing, he realized just how difficult it was to lie to people, and which is why he couldn't then, I guess, why he couldn't really form, I guess, stronger connections with the other players in the game. And so while he was Dead Eyes Mike, is because he genuinely felt bad about doing that to those people. So I kind of forget what your question was, but I because he was a trader, I don't like Mike, but because he's a really nice person, I really like Mike. He's really great. Yeah, he's a super dude.
I think that's a very interesting point you bring up because when you've sort of been given this character, you are the traitor. You have to be the one to murder everyone. Whereas if you are faithful, like your time there is literally just to find everyone out. You don't have to pretend or have to play something that you're not, if that makes sense. So I do think as a faithful, it's much more easier the social game on building connections and finding the traitors. Whereas as a traitors, while you have the upper hand, you have to play the defense the entire time. Because if you slip up once, like what we saw with Steven last week, V, like he took 2 seconds to think about a decision and bam, he's gone.
Too long.
How would you navigate the game of traitors if you were chosen as a traitor?
Oh my gosh. I'd love it, but I'd be terrible because I just don't think I have a poker face. And I do think the poker face strategy is an incredible strategy because I think if you're trying to be too much of a faithful, you end up talking too much. And if you try and stay out of it, then people go, well, why aren't you putting names out there? Why aren't you, you know? So it's such a hard balance. And I think what Jane did really well for a time, and what we were discussing last week, was she did kind of read the room. And I think every season of Traitors is going to be different based on the personality. So I think going gung-ho with a strategy and not reading the room, it's not going to work. So it's really hard to know until you're in there. My instinct is to be a bit poker face and say as little as possible. But with certain faithful, that's not going to fly, because they're going to want you to suggest a name. But if you suggest a name too much, you'll get murdered. Or they'll go, well, why are you going so hard for that person? They ended up being a faithful. So it's such a delicate balance that I can see why they're not getting much sleep and look disheveled. I don't know. I think I'd probably sit and cry to start off with, and then figure out where to go from there.
Just going in there with like a prepared strategy, I think is a huge mistake. I think lots of people like figure out what they're going to do. I did it, but when I went on the show, but then I thought I was going to be a traitor, so I had a very clear strategy that I had lined up for being a traitor. So when I became a faithful, I was like, oh, I just got to not be a threat now. I guess that's what I do. And that was much as my strategy was in there, and it was because it's just so random. You've got to play it how it lies, and it's so different. And whoever you're up against, you've got to point fingers at someone. If you just happen to be in the direction that someone's looking at when they need to find someone, they're just going to point to you and trying to make something up and kill you.
Keeping that in mind, we have a lot more fans playing in the season, of Traitors, of reality TV, type games, compared to what we had in the first season. And I feel like more people are playing with more bolder strategies. Like with Ben, he was trying to keep Jane close because he kind of recognized that she was a traitor. Same thing with Andrew and Jackie, right? But I also feel like people are overthinking a lot of things. I feel like Mark is a prime example of, you go in there with a strategy, but you overthink it as you go, like writing down notes, like, oh, this could be like a harmless thing. But it's just such, like, everything you do is either a mark or a tick against your name, right? Like, how do you navigate this game without getting any, like, crosses next to your name, in your opinion?
That's the thing. And I think you're absolutely right. We do see that with a lot of shows, that once it becomes sort of infiltrated with super fans, everyone's just overthinking everything. And I think that's why season 1 was that sort of lightning in a bottle, because you've got people who are figuring it out as they go along. So they have to read the room, and they might not jump down someone's throat for drinking water too slowly or too fast or too many gulps. But that's the thing. That would be the torturous thing, because you just don't know what people are going to. And I say stupid jokes as well. So I'd probably walk around going, oh, I'd say that if I was the traitor, raka. And he would go, oh, I would say something stupid, like, hope you don't get murdered. And they'd go, oh, that's traitorous behavior. They'd get me for saying something stupid. So I'd love to play, but I would be a nervous wreck.
Let me reveal something. Because I was on set for day 1. And I was there just before they went into the room for the Traitors selection, and one of the production people was there, and they were just saying, like, "Hey, there's water there. You can drink it. It's all good. Just sort of relax." And I said, quite loudly so everyone could hear, "Only traitors drink water."
And I would march up and be like,
man, Sam, you are the man. Man. Oh gosh, only you could start trolling and joking even before the games actually started. You're the reason that Terry got banished.
Now, I genuinely think I am the reason that Terry got banished, because I think Terry went in there and saw that that when I played in the first round, we voted out Lauren, who was a traitor, without sort of really knowing that we fluked that, man. We didn't know. We were just getting rid of someone who was quiet. I said that I saw some change in her, which I hadn't. I just had to say something in that moment, and everyone else was pointing at Lauren, and I had to say, well, I'm sorry, I think it's this person who I know, and I know will be good in this game, and I feel really bad that she has to go. So I felt bad for stopping my friend from getting to play the game. That's why I looked. But also, my strategy was to be quiet and to not be a threat at all. Here I am, banishment 1, voting out someone who I think is clearly... she's clearly a faithful. I don't think she's a traitor at all. Having to be the final decision. Luckily, 12 other people voted with me, and she ends up going. And then she happens to be a traitor, which makes me look like I'm the faithful of all faithfuls, and therefore a prime target for being murdered every night, which was nightmarish. And so I think Terry was trying to do that. He was trying to solidify himself as a faithful. When he didn't turn out to be a traitor, he knew he had to do that. He saw something on Jane, accurate, 100% accurate, but because Jane's absolute pro, she manages to spin it around on him and get it out of there. I think so. I think Terry was trying to be bold, trying to be Terry. I actually know Terry because he's a comedian as well, so I know he's a very, very smart man. He's a really good chess player. He's very strategic. He would have analyzed every season of this show, and it was so gutting not to see him play more, because he would have been an absolute powerhouse if he had set himself up in that great way that he thought he was about to do, and he almost did. It was quite gutting to see him go.
Oh my. Well, Sam, I know we're going to be diving a little bit deeper into this a bit later on, but I think just spoiling my vote for smartest move of the week, I think now after hearing that, the smartest move of the week has to be your downfall of Jane. Because you talked about, if you drink the water, you're a traitor. Jane drinks the water. Terry and Bailey vote for Jane, and it comes full circle, and Jane gets taken out. You're the strategic mastermind of Jane.
Predictions. That's what I'm all about. Predictions for things that I was there to witness. It's so funny I got that from UK season 1 when was it UK season 1? I think Alyssa said that about. Oh yes, when Alyssa said it about Nikki, how she didn't get a water glass, but that's because she doesn't have an arm on that side. I couldn't believe that then became the reason why that poor lovely lady Nikki got out of the game. That was crazy.
Quickly, let's bring it back to Traitors New Zealand. Something we haven't really talked much about is the missions. Now, V, I know you have to go soon, but we do have this great mission where you have this Mount Horrible. It's not a hill, Andre. It's a mountain. All right. There's one thing about New Zealand is that we don't have hills. We have mountains everywhere you go, and you have to run you don't even start off with a backpack, V. You have to run all the way down, then pick up the backpack and 1 bar silver and go all the way up. What was your thoughts on this mission?
Well, see, I thought I quite fancied myself wanting to apply for the Traitors, but if they're pulling stuff like nah, I would have complained. I would have been hell to be around. I would have been moaning and complaining the whole time and panting and having asthma attacks and think, they would have gone, just murder her already if she doesn't die on this hill. So I saw that and I just thought that is the cruelest thing. Put me in a box of cockroaches. Do not make me walk up a mountain, especially a mountain called Mount Horrible. That was just cruel.
Running and doing physical things, like some people, that was the thing I was most worried about. I knew from UK season 1 that was his name Ryan? He vomited during the first mission, and I was like, I can't vomit on the show. I've got to. So I actually started running. I got fit for the show, and so when we had that barrel challenge in our season, that was probably my lowest moment. I also knew, no, this is the one I've been training for. I'm prepared for this. So I wanted to show off how physical I was and try and earn a shield with it, and didn't get to. But Not enough Albert Park stairs experience.
Surely, Andre,
Yeah.
with your Albert Park stairs experience, you'll be on the next season of Traitors, right? Since you don't know, but there's a park. It's actually right around my apartment, actually, Albert Park here in Auckland,
Oh,
and the stairs, like there's like so much stairs, like just walking up, right? And it is an exercise in itself trying to go up those stairs. So, Andre, man, next season, I better see you like in the Utah or the Ben position, leading the pack, going through.
that movie. What's that movie with all the stairs with Sylvester? Rocky. It's Rocky. It's like,
Rocky.
if you've seen Rocky, him running up the stairs after doing. I saw someone analyze all the locations where he is in Philadelphia, while he's in that montage training. When they're playing do 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 do.
Yeah.
When they're doing that, he and they analyzed and he ran like 12 marathons. And then runs up the steps. And no wonder he's so stoked to run up those stairs at the end and get it. But yeah, I would highly recommend trying out for the show if you are a fit person. I think you would do well in the missions.
Yes.
What's that? Forrest Gump. You got that scene where he like runs for like, what is it, a year or like 70 months, and then
He'd be ready.
Oh, I'm kind of tired now. He would like run back and forth with all the barrels in your season, Sam. He'll keep crossing the line and just get. He'd be the only one to get the shield. Like he just keeps crossing. But Utah does have a pretty bold strategy where we see Ben, with all the temptations. You have like a pint of beer, some ribs, some donkeys. Which I wish someone had picked the donkeys. That would have been so funny. But also we get a shield. And Utah, I feel like, played a very bold move here where I feel like if it was anyone else, I reckon this goes kind of poorly for him. Sam, like, what's your thoughts on Utah grabbing the shield and then publicly announcing, hey, I've got the shield?
Very, very honestly, I think those guys kind of deserved it. Like, they did, I think Ben did 3 trips and Utah did 2 or 3. I think they kind of cut it down in the end. I remember seeing Ben getting up at about halfway through, which means he'd gone twice. What a fit young man. And the fact that they'd done that, they earned 1 for the team and then they got an extra 1 for the shield. I feel like that seems fair. Which was kind of the exact opposite of what I did when we did our physical challenge. But yeah, I think that seems all right in that situation. And what I think was crazy was Mike announcing that he didn't get the shield at the end, and Kat just taking 1 for herself. I think that's Kat being sneaky and strategic, which again is why I'm a bit scared of her and why I want her on my team. But then Mike was doing that, and basically that's what led to his downfall. It was a bit, again, it's one of those things like Stephen's delayed banishment had. Mike saying that I think was really the nail that sealed his coffin. No, you don't go in a coffin when you're banished. You just get, I guess, driven back to the airport.
The ether.
Yeah. I think when you get banished, they just explode you somewhere. I don't really know. I don't want to brag. I was never banished.
Fire out a cannon.
Yeah.
Well, maybe those who are banished were actually secretly the meat they had to eat and feel and stuff like that. Like that, we can't use actual dead bodies. We've got to send them back to the families. Well, you're banished. Oh, shame.
No one knows where you are.
X marks the spot. Like, I think they should do like some sort of buried treasure mission where they have to like dig something up. We haven't seen that before. Oh, we've seen digging, of course, with like the grave and stuff. But like, if you did like a treasure thing and you got like an actual X to put on the ground, that would be quite a cool physical mission to run around and find. Man, I really need to talk to the people who make the missions for these shows, or maybe the people who come up with the tasks for a show called Taskmaster, and we can just drinking out of my Taskmaster mug. To find to maybe suggest that for a task. That'd be cool. What was the question? I forget.
You would think that like sticking out, like, you know, in front of a whole group of people is a really bad thing to do in traders. But Mike seems to feel like it was like a really good thing to do in this scenario. V, like, what did you think when Mike was like, "Oh, I didn't get a shield"?
Oh, come on, man. Come on. Oh, he let his intrusive thoughts of things to say just override his brain. There was absolutely no reason. Unless they cut out everyone saying, I didn't get one, I didn't get one, I didn't get one. It was the stupidest thing to do. I do agree. Like, I think if I had been on that challenge, I probably wouldn't have picked up a shield, because I do think there's a hierarchy of who deserves it and something like that. I would have grabbed a donkey just to hang out with a donkey, to be honest, because I love animals. So, like, I think it was fair in how it turned out. But oh, Mike,
Zip your lips if you've got something like that they're trying to hold back. You've got to.
Too much. Oh.
You just keep. You don't need to. Yeah, you can only get taken down for things that you say. Like if you don't say those things, you can't be called up on them. So that would be my advice if people were doing that. But then again, I've got to remember they've just been running up and down a hill. They'll be exhausted. They'll be tired. They won't be in their right minds. They'll just be, they'll be crazy. So where I think Mike made a mistake as well is and it was kind of the same thing that Dan did on our season, is that he kept bringing up the fact that happened. He kept being like, "Oh, so why do you think I did that?" And everyone's like, "We weren't talking about that." He was like, "Well, I'll tell you why I did it." And Dan did the same thing with you guys all saw the wink, right? You're talking about the wink? We're like, well, yeah, but we kind of forgot about it. It wasn't that big a deal to us. She just winked at you. He's like, well, the wink was this. That's what makes you think that it's actually something more than you think it is. Mm.
And I feel like with Dan as well in your season, like he was always pretty quiet. He was sort of like plotting from behind the scenes almost. I feel like eventually, like you guys were gonna like start going after him, but I think it was just what I was gonna say, like I think he really did bring that upon himself. But like I know you do have to go soon, unfortunately, because you do have something popping up. But I just want to quickly get to it. It's first time, we're doing the smartest move of the week, insanely early. But Sam, as you might remember, we improvise a song, right? We improvise a song. We do like a beat. We do like a bit of a jingle. So I'm going to leave the option up to you. Do you want to do like the beat, or do you want to do like a sound or a jingle?
Both? Can I do both? I'm a very talented musician. I've got all my instruments here. I can no beat. I'll do the beat.
Of course you can. All right, get us away with the beat.
Do you want a mouth beat or like a table beat?
Ooh.
Exactly that.
Yeah.
Exactly that. Now, V, I want you to play off that. Yeah, it's the smartest move of the week. The smartest move of the week. Mucky, B, and Sam brings in the smartest move of the week. The smartest move of the week. Ladies and gents, it's the smartest move of the week. Hey! Well, I've already talked about what my smartest move of the week is, with some very lovely behind-the-scenes stuff that Sam had shared with us about how he says very loudly, "If you drink water, you are a traitor." Jane drinks the water. Terry notices the swallowing and the drinking the water. He goes after Jane. He gets taken out. But it's because him and Bailey went after him. Bailey helps bring that full circle, and Jane is taken out. So I feel like, for me personally, that is the smartest move of the week. V, what's your thoughts on the smartest move of the week?
Well, it's got to be Mark falling on the sword for the faithful, and they don't even know it. They only know it now after watching it, or maybe they talked about it. But at that moment that he fell on the sword, no one knew what he did. And he caused the whole downfall of Jane, and he could have come back as a traitor, and he could have taken the glory for himself. But no, He took one for the team. He sacrificed himself, and we should pour one out for Mark. It was brilliant.
Died with dignity, did Mark.
Yes.
Raising my glass to my boy, Mark Mockridge. What a lovely guy. He's also my friend Paul's younger brother, which is quite exciting. I've never met him, but I would love to meet Mark. I would love to shake his hand and talk to him about nerdy Dungeons and Dragons, which I've never done, but I feel like we could definitely chat some good traders together as well. Yeah, he was great.
Excellent. So is that your smartest move of the week, Sam? You're agreeing with V?
Fully going to go with that. I think that is the smartest move of any for a faithful. That is the smartest move of any version of the Traitors ever in the history of the Traitors, because he died on his sword for the faithful. Oh.
Yeah.
Gosh. V, once again, you keep pulling everyone against me.
Mm-hmm.
You turn them against me. How do you do this, V?
I'm very convincing.
How about, Mucky, you pick something that didn't... You picked the drinking water thing that was from episode 1. It's not even from this week. No wonder.
Oh, it started a chain of events.
I guess that move, Sam, like deep down in my heart, that was my smartest move of the week, because I think to this day, probably my most favorite move of last season that ever happened, right, was when Kimberly said at the start of your season that her psychic senses are telling her that Robbie is a traitor, but she never specified when Robbie would be a traitor. So she started this whole 6-episode arc of everyone just dumping on Robbie, wanting to get Robbie out. And the one time you guys did, she was the traitor. So in my opinion, that was the best move of last season.
All right, guys. I got to go. Sorry to interrupt. Lovely to meet you, Sam. See you, Mucky. I'll see you next week.
Keep up the great work, V. You're cool. I really like you.
Let's catch up next week, V. Bye.
Bye.
Man. Sam, you are the man. Just two men just chilling on the podcast. Well, we've talked about one mission, and I feel like, let's talk about the other one really quick. Like, this was a very spiritual challenge. I feel like Hamish would have loved this mission, because Hamish, he loves spirituality, he loves like spiritual things. So in this mission, you're in like your different teams and stuff, you're on a table, and you got like this sort of not really a crystallized ball, but sort of like this glowing ball, and surrounding the tables is all the faces of everyone who's been murdered so far throughout the season. And what I love so much about this challenge is that it's once again testing how well you know your cast, right? I feel like we've seen something similar to this early in the season, and you had to kind of predict what answers they would give. But something that Kat mentions is like, we got to think how people were feeling like 3 or 4, even 5 days ago. What's your thoughts on this mission?
Now, many of the cast said that this was a really, really hard one, and it totally was. It really is. It's kind of one of those ones where it is designed to, I guess, stir up shit within the banner. People will say certain people's names. I think one good example of that is that Mark said that Ben wasn't really being a team player, which of course, when Ben hears that, he's been, I think, a really strong faithful for it. I think he's 100% been a really strong player. That immediately sparks suspicion. Noel's probably a good example of this as well. Lots of people, Noel sort of worked to that point to clear his name, and then they started sort of reinvigorated all that. We saw how upset he got about it, of course. But I think seeing Paul Henry wearing a big cloak and speaking to the spirits was pretty funny. And I think what a cool sort of eerie situation to put those characters in. It feels, I think this season the missions are very much spookier and eerier and more in line with what we would expect to see in a game called The Traitors that looks very Masonic and satanic even. Satanic, that's a good one. Maybe for a later season we can burn some people.
Overnight, I was thinking about this, and I was like, how can you really do this mission, right? Because like so much happens in a game of Traders, right? You're constantly thinking all the time. And just really quick, a massive shout out to someone who does think all the time. Mark, a cheeky strategist from Titans vs Rebels. Thank you so much for popping into the chat, brother. Love you so much, man. But this mission specifically really requires you to like, know your cast, know your team, right? As well as, stir up some shit. Do you reckon that the questions were a bit too hard, or do you reckon like it was like a good enough sort of range between like hard and easy questions?
Per se, possibly, yeah. I think well, possibly that. Yes, it was. I think they were a bit too hard. Just because they didn't really raise that too much money. And Mark, I just want to say hello again. WC, I did a podcast with Mark recently. He's a wonderful man. We talked to Maxence from the Traitors Quebec, and it was so nice to talk to Mark, especially Mark. It's such a legend at Survivor, so it was very nice to see you. Hello, Mark. I think the questions could have been a bit easier, but I do think that when the studio was promised $100,000 to the winner, they've really upped the money from my season. That they can cut all the money back down. It doesn't matter. They should. I hope whoever wins ends up with less than me. No. I don't think that's all at all. I think I think they could have made them a bit easier, or at least kind of a bit less random. I think. You've kind of got like a 1 in 20 shot of getting some of them. I think there could have been ones where, who out of these three do you think is more likely to be a traitor? That kind of question. That could, really stitch some people up. I thought the person that would have been the best at this game was actually Mark, because he'd been taking so many notes throughout it, and he would have been able to pick out these things straight away. But of course, we'd just lost him. So he would have been a great one to play. And I thought Britt's answers were very funny as well. It's nice to hear back from her.
Quite right about it, because I feel like Brittany was like such an underrated player this season. I truly do. Like, I feel like just how she was playing the game, she was almost like Brody in a way, but just more of a quieter version, like very deadly, like very onto it, very intuitive. But we've got to talk about this season, in my opinion, has had probably some of the biggest plot twists I've ever seen in reality TV history. You had Bree turning on Andrew, when the whole time was like her and Andrew kind of against Noel, which, oh my God, still one of my favorites. But now definitely maybe this tops it. Maybe this does really top it, because I love a troll moment. I love when you're like, nah, see ya, I'm out. So once Mike gets banished, Jane has like a choice here, right? She has to select two people where one will become a traitor and the other one will be murdered. And we see her bring forth Mark and Bailey. And Sam, when you saw these two people come up, what was your initial thoughts?
Right. I think I knew one of them was going to be Mark. I knew he was like the sacrificial lamb that people were bringing on board. But I think these people are clever. Like the rest of the faithful are clever and would have picked it up, and Mark would have been gone straight away. However, because he'd done his great move against Utah, I'm handing Utah the notes beforehand. I thought that was very, very clever of him. I really expected Mark to be there. And then, because we hadn't really seen much of Bailey before this, she'd said a couple of things here and there. We were only just starting to see how smart she was before she called her up. Lo and behold, she sort of becomes a traitor by default and has kind of just fallen beautifully into the role. I think she made a very good point about just how, she's kind of going under the radar. She just needs to keep doing that, and she should be a pretty good teammate to Jane. Cut to the very next round table when she's writing down her name and sending her home. Yeah,
surely another great person to pick would have been Utah. What's your thoughts on potentially trying to bring Utah into this?
Tell me about it. Like, Utah would have been a wonderful person to have on board. I worry for him, because like you said with Britt, I think they were like Brody. Brody was very vocal. Britt was also a bit vocal, but I think more importantly, they had sway in the group. people looked to them for answers. Exactly what we did with Brody. Exactly what they did with Brett. Exactly what they're doing with Utah, which makes me nervous for that lovely man. He yeah, I got to meet him, and he is just a dude. Man, he's one of those people. It's kind of like the same thing I felt with Kings in our season. I just want him to be my friend. I want to I want to prove to him that I know things, despite Utah being 10 years younger than me. I really want to impress this very fit man.
Utah is like the golden boy of the season, like the Labrador. You always have one, like the one person who's just so well loved and just so well liked by just the entire cast. I think if Utah was a traitor, he would be a dangerous traitor, because I feel like people would also be too scared to vote for him, because now he's
Vander was like that in our season. People said she was a traitor, but I don't think people really believe she was. Like Colin kept saying all the time, calling her Darth Vander, and we just knew, like, no, it's Vander. She's lovely. She's so nice. There's no possible way that this lovely woman could be a traitor. And the game messed with our heads so much that we ended up voting her out, and it was legitimately the worst part of the show. I felt so bad doing that. I felt really bad with Julia and Kings, obviously voting those guys out too when they were faithful. You're putting an end to someone's game, and it feels awful. But yeah, I think to me in my season, Vander was like that. But Utah is I think he's just been so open with his comments and things. It's so different from the way I tried to sneak my way through the game. It was very, very different from how I thought. I know. Yeah, I'm scared for my boy Utah. Scared for him.
Well, I feel like both you and Anna, in my opinion, have played like the most perfect faithful games, right? Especially you. You know, like I'm pretty sure you're still the only faithful to only receive one vote, which even then it was like a throwaway vote. You voted correctly every single time, and then you also voted out, like, how many traitors was it in the end? You had the original 3, Brooke, Robbie, and Colin. 6. Did you vote out 6 traitors? I don't think anyone else has topped that. Like Sam, what's your advice? You know, like when it comes to like playing the game as the faithful, like what's your number one advice on moving through the game?
Exactly right. I think my advice would be. So I'm being distracted because I'm just thinking about, like, I think on IMDb there's trivia on there that says that I'm the first person to vote out all the traitors in a game. Or no, maybe not all the traitors, but the most. I think by voting out 6. Sorry, you're gonna have to. What was the question again? I'm so sorry. I distracted my own brain.
You played the most perfect faithful game, like in Traitors history. If you had to give advice to players on how to navigate throughout the game, what would be your advice?
New Zealand people. I think I knew them quite well. And so I think it's, I was thinking about like targeting it towards people from obviously New Zealand. We're a bit laid back than some of the other versions of the show that you see. But I think the thing for me was to not be a threat. And just saying that all the time. I don't want to be a threat. I don't want to make any enemies. If I do have to vote for someone and they stick around, I want to make it clear for them that I've immediately forgiven them. And what I said was wrong. I just don't want. You don't want to make enemies. And I think that's the best thing I did while I was in that house. I think I was also very lucky. Is the thing that I can't sort of really take credit for being for playing a good game. I got lucky at so many steps. I should have been murdered the night that they tried to murder either Anna. They tried to murder Anna, who had the shield. That night was meant to be me going home for sure. And but I think the reason I wasn't was because I managed to make Brooke feel that I wasn't a threat to him at all, which was very lucky. I felt like I was the only person that I ever sort of really threatened ever within the game was Colin at the round table once I knew that the traitors couldn't banish us again. So my advice is to be a big old softy, look like an idiot. I was trying to be like Aaron from season 1 of the UK. That was my thing when I was in there. Aaron was the guy who sort of fumbled his way through, and I was trying to do that as well. It was very easy to look a bit dumb and sort of not know what was going on because I genuinely didn't know what was going on as well. Just do that and get a bit lucky.
And I'm going to throw a spanner in the works here, Sam, because, you just gave the best advice for playing as a faithful. But let's say you put into Mark and Bailey's situation. Let's say it's us, right? We've been put in a situation where we have to sell ourselves to Jane at the moment. Give us your pitch. Say your pitch on why you would make a great trader with Jane.
Beautiful question. I would... Jane, hello. Look, you know me. I'm so little of a threat that no one would ever suspect that I'm a traitor. I'm the perfect ally to take you through. We've obviously got along so well, Jane. We get on great. We've talked about all these chats about being from the UK. You're obviously from there. I lived there when I was a kid. We're mates, you two, us two. We clearly, it won't be weird if we hang out and talk to each other because we've been doing that throughout the house. We can actually have more time to strategize. And Mucky's a piece of shit, mate. Look at him. He's never even played the game before. I won the game last season. So keep me out there. We'll work together as a team. We can get this guy out there. Let me have a turn with that beautiful cloak. And it's probably the end of my minute. and your right of reply.
Clueless is something that Mark here perfectly summarizes about me. I am one of the most clueless, one of the most lovely, but also one of the most craziest people you could ever be traded up with. But that's why I could be the perfect ally. I'm going to potentially take all the heat away from you. I believe in Bigfoot. That's controversial. Everyone thinks Bigfoots don't exist, but I believe in Bigfoot. Like, Bigfoot totally exists, right? So that's why you should pick me to be a trader, because I'm going to draw heat away from you. I'm 6'4", and obviously I'm wearing a Chewbacca jumper all the time. I have a hat that says "I love Shin Batty," which is just on the other end of, of my apartment right now. But look, everyone's looking at me. Is anyone going to be looking at you? No, because Mucky is here, baby, and that's why I feel like I'll make a great trader.
Do you think we should ask Mark to pick which one of us he'd pick if he was Jane in the situation? Mark, just pretend that you were Jane just then. Which one of us would you be murdering, and which one would you be bringing on board to be a traitor with you?
Excellent idea, Sam. But I just know he's going to pick you because Mark and I actually have a wee bit of history. So, did you watch Titans versus Rebels?
Full disclosure, no, I haven't. Despite telling Mark that I was going to watch it when I talked to him a couple of weeks ago. But to be fair, there are 900 episodes, and I've been a bit busy. But I will. I'm a big fan of the man himself. So, and he's a beautiful guy as well. Please get me on board, Mark. So no, I haven't, but I would love. I know of his pedigree. Can you say that for humans, or is that just for dogs?
Gosh, Sam, you got to keep up with the times, because there was a lovely lady. Her name is Eileen. She was on last week when we discussed trailers, but she was also on Titans vs. Rebels. And, I'm not one to really, throw myself out there, but, everyone else has already done it. So Eileen is normally like my type, right? And Chris Cahoon and Tom, who also podcasted with me, threw me under the bus straight away and became a season-long thing of, Mucky's got a crush on Eileen. Mucky's got a crush on Eileen. So I decided to play into that. As the season went along, I made a song with this recorder. I improvised a song, used our theatre sports skills, Sam. Right here on my floor, I had some candles around me. It was a beautiful song. We did our very own duet. And Mark even had sent a photo into a group chat with us and I think Chris and everyone else. And he it was him wearing Eileen's pants. and I forgot what he said after that, but oh gosh. And Mark knows if we play together, I'm coming from hard, which is why I'm so shocked. Sorry, Sam, you're dead. Mark, is this the start of our relationship slowly building up? People think we've got to be going after each other because of Eileen's pants. Wait, hang on. Not let me just rephrase that, because you wore Eileen's pants. But now we're the tightest duo going forward. What a plot twist, Sam.
How dare you, Mark? I can't believe that. I said all those nice things. I do genuinely mean all those nice things as well, by the way. Well, I'm dead. I'm a ghost now. Phew, I'm so pissed off. Genuinely, this is heartbreaking.
I guess now you're going to be part of the like the spiritual challenge. Now you're going to be one of the voices.
Oh, just another little behind the scenes thing. That mission was called The Sound of Seance. The Sound of Seance, which is a wee play on the song The Sound of Silence. So, like the "Hello Darkness, my old friend." Ding dong ding. Yeah, it's a pretty good wordplay. Sound of Seance. You heard it here first.
Keeping up with songs, I feel like the soundtrack for this season has been phenomenal. Like, I'm loving the soundtrack, Sam. But what's been your thoughts?
Look, I was on Trade Me, on Trade Me Properties, and there was a house for sale in, I think it was in Golden Bay or out top of the South Island where I'm from, and and they used a track in it that I think must be from the same collection of Traitors songs. I'll find the link for you, and I'll send it to you so you can check it out, because it sounds exactly like watching an episode of the Traitors. It might have been because I watched it straight after watching an episode of the Traitors, but I genuinely think they've got the same person who's made all these tracks and put them on. But yes, I love all the spooky songs. That I think they're so well chosen and so well put together. And I think it's a bit better than in the UK. Was it season 1 or season 2, where they just did basically popular hits like zombie, but they got like a spooky girl to sing it in a church or something to make it sound a bit scarier. I think that's right.
Maybe that was season 1, I think. But also could be season 2, because I know a lot of UK songs like to be like, here's a lot of popular pop songs and songs that you recognize. Hey, come watch the show. We've got your favorite soundtracks. But let's quickly bring back to New Zealand, though. So we do see that Ben, Donna, and Bailey have all won a shield. And also Noel, he gets dumped on by everyone, as we talked about. It was a great job of everyone. They kept throwing Noel under the bus. And Brie, like, whose side is Brie on, Sam? Like, she was with Andrew taking on Noel in the grave digging challenge. Then she flips on Andrew at the round table. And then here, once again, in this mission, she's throwing poor Noel under the bus, saying he can't be trusted. Like, if you're Noel, like, I know he thought about quitting at some point, but how do you come out of this?
No idea. I've got no idea. It's again, it must be so difficult just to be shat on every single day. It must be so tiring, because it's tiring even if you're not getting it done, but having to deal with things. Robbie had it in our season, and it really, really played on her, which is why she got picked up to be a traitor and then ousted. So yeah, I feel like Noel deserves to win this. Like he's put in the fight. Like, no, to be fair, anyone who manages to last in the game, no matter how they do it, I think deserves to win it. But I think he's worked extra especially hard to do it. I really want to give him a hug. Would have been doing that.
Oh my gosh, another commentary from Mark. Do you think Mark got lucky identifying that Jane was a traitor? It didn't seem that Mark's written rationale made sense to Utah. That's a good point, really, because, like, I feel like, Mark is obviously a very smart man, but on the show he's portrayed to be not, the brightest tool in the toolbox, but there's a reason why you don't use a screwdriver as a flashlight, right? And so I think that, with Mark, I do think he potentially did get really lucky that Jane was actually a traitor. What's your thoughts on that?
Please remind me of that analogy about the flashlight and the screwdriver again, because I use that again sometimes. But no, I genuinely think that Mark did know. I think he had figured it out. There was something he said about information being released to him in a certain way that made him know it was Jane. He clearly had got it right, because he gave the note to Utah, and then Utah brought it up the next day that he says it was Jane. So he'd nailed it. So yeah, I think Mark was completely onto it, and I can't remember what the exact question was, but I've got a lot of time for Mark. As soon as he does this, as soon as he does a massive play like this, I think he's just a super duper human man. And I think the whole, I think it fully undid all his bad faithfulness and made him a superstar in my mind. Do you agree?
Quickly written as well. Like, I do agree, but like literally after that banishment, he was like, "Nah, I'm going to sit down. I'm going to write down all of it." And I actually do think that was genius of him because Utah's got all the power in this house, right? He's got all the power, he's got all the influence. And do you know what would have been really funny? If Utah was the one who got murdered.
Right. That would have been really funny. I thought he was really cute sitting there at the bottom of the steps as well, just politely shaking hands with everyone as they go, just so he didn't look so sus. But then when you watch it, you're like, oh yeah, that's a bit sus that he's just waiting there ready to go. Almost like he knew his time was up, but he didn't. I wonder if he was thinking, oh, this will be a blackmail, and then whether he was going to turn that down or whether he would have. It'd be interesting to see, whether if it was not like a normal blackmail and they just got him in and he said no and then just disappeared, whether he would have done that or whether it was just because it was this new beg for your own life scenario that he would have done. Yeah, this it's quite interesting to see. Yeah.
Surely the moment as well, Mark had two great moments, right? He had the moment where it's like, you know what? I'm going to say no. Oh, not no. I'm just going to say no. And I'm just going to get. But also another one is when, they're giving this speech on being like, hey, you should pick me to be a trade because of this. Mark doesn't even advertise himself. He goes, Jane, I have written a whole note that where all these pieces of evidence that leads to you. And if you don't keep me, you're going home next. And that's exactly what happened.
The thing that you want when you're on the Traitors is an awesome ending. Like, so many people get murdered in the night and just disappeared. I think it was quite sad in our season that Dylan was one of those people because of the nature of that. We found out who was murdered during the mission, that there wasn't sort of a final moment of, oh, Dylan's gone. It was, you have such a nice moment. Paul with his bow in UK season 2. Just any traitor when they get to leave, having said that they're a traitor, that's a nice finish to their game. But if you just get murdered in the night and disappear, it's you just sort of kind of forget. Oh yeah, that person was here. But like when no, sorry, I've lost my train of thought. I do that all the time. It's one of these things that happens when you get elderly like me. I'm an elderly person now.
Under the radar players such as yourself, I feel like we've got such an easy time on reaching to the end. And I feel like we've got a lot of under the radar players, such as Ben, for example. His name came up pretty much for the first time this whole season. Kat, I feel like it's been pretty under the radar at this point. And Bailey as well. She's playing a very under the radar game. Now Bailey has to choose who to blackmail to become one of the traitors. Who do you think she's going to pick?
I'm very interested that you bring this up because I was thinking about it just all week. I wanted to, because man, it's such a tough decision at this point of the game, and it's got to be someone from the Ring of Fire, the Pacific Ring of Fire. It's got to be one of those four. I think probably not Joe because I think he's a bit too clueless. But in saying that, he's another great under the radar person. Because I think the thing about playing under the radar is that you don't you live in constant fear every night of being murdered. You don't like you go into the, and I talked about this with Vander throughout the week. You don't you go into a round table like whenever I went to the round table, I felt fairly confident that I was not going to get ousted. No one had talked about voting for me. No one said that someone was bringing up my name. Nothing like that. But every night, I barely got any sleep because I just knew I was a sitting duck waiting to go. So every morning when I got picked up, I was like, oh, this is it. I'm out of here. I haven't done enough. I haven't said enough. Or the days where I did say something over some barrels, I was like, oh, I said too much. I've effed it. So to go back to your question, I would, yes, Ciale, Jace, or Utah. I think Utah would be too obvious. I think Jace would be the pick for me. Yeah. Do you have a pick, or do you what do you wish would you'd go with?
Well, I think in a game like Traders, while you could have someone very strategic like Mark, very similar to Survivor and many other shows, social capital will always win. Will always win the day, right? Like, such as yourself, like you were a prime murder when both Anna and Julia had the shield, but since you were so well liked and your social game was so great, as well as being a bit under the radar, people just never considered you, right? And so someone who I've been very high on throughout the season, we haven't seen much of it. I feel like we kind of got to see a little bit more of her this week, is actually Molly. I feel like Molly would be a great pick to be a traitor because every time someone wants to go make a move, except for the Pacific Rim of Fire, Molly's always one of the first people they go and chat to. What's been your thoughts on Molly so far throughout the season?
Exactly. Yeah. Like Molly is exactly the kind of person that you would want as a traitor. She's had a bit of heat on her, but not sort of overly much. So I think that's a really strong. I almost wonder if, because we've seen her fairly consistently throughout the show, eh? Like we didn't see a lot of maybe Ciale and especially Bailey. We didn't see much of Steven for a while. Yeah, I wonder if that's a sign. Yeah, I always think there's like maybe the editors put a few little hints in like early on, like if someone is going to play a big part in the end of the game, do we see them earlier on? I asked Dylan Reeve that, and he said that they don't. They just use whatever footage they have available, and sometimes they need to say a certain thing, and they don't have the right person saying it or any person saying it, so they have to cobble it together with other little things. So maybe that's the reason that we haven't seen those players. But you just think that, I mean, I felt like I had a really strong episode 1 of our season, and surely other people explain things better than I did. So yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I think Molly's a good shout there. It'll be interesting because she's got some heat on her, so you could. But then I wonder if she's going to go with someone who is someone like her. In which case that would be. Yeah, I guess that would be Molly. Yeah. Do you know who would you is Molly the person you would go with, or would there be someone else?
I'm not too sure because I feel like I would want someone like if I was a trader, right? Because I'm very much an out there, and I'm not the brightest like torch in the hay bale, right? It's like I know I would want someone who would create like enough splashes to either equalize my splashes or be a little bit more. And I feel like Kat, in my opinion, would be the perfect one for that because like nothing bad against Kat, but it's just how she's reacted to certain things, especially with Mark's plan. I feel like she's going to blow up at something, stir a little bit of drama because she's obviously playing the game. And I feel like people are going to maybe dart a bit more towards Kat than maybe what they would towards me for just being like a natural idiot, if that makes sense. But something that did catch my eye though. So one thing I called out in our podcast of Traitors America season 2 was that there was a conversation between CT and Trishelle where they were talking about like their history and stuff like that. They need to be together. They need to work together. And they were the final 2 of that season. And I pointed that out at the time going, this seems like a random conversation. Why would they show it? It must mean something. A conversation that was had between Ben and Molly was that Ben wants to take Molly to the end with Jane, but then cut Jane at the end. I think maybe there's going to be them 2, a traitor, maybe Donna, because I feel like Donna's getting a lot of screen time as well at the very end. But the final 3 is going to be Ben, Molly, and a traitor. And that's my hot predictions for how the season's going to end. What's your thoughts on that?
Zoos. I just thought that we've never done like a zoos task where people it's like in a zoo and in a cage. So I'm sorry, give me a second just to write that down. Oh, and also if that shows up in a Taskmaster thing at some point, the moment where I came up with that. Sorry, because like you could have the cages and like you could have like a zoo animal in there. Maybe a traders thing, that'd be quite scary. Anyway, it's so hard to pick a final 3 from here. I think it was so. even in our season where I knew who the final 5 were, you just watch it and you're like, oh no, this could have gone anyway at any point. Yeah, I feel like no one has written down Cat. Makes me think she's gonna last in the end, but then she's too much of a threat. I just don't know. Like it's so hard. Let's say I know. We'll go. I'll say that they change the rules somehow, and they get Terry back, and they get Britt back, and they get Mike back, and Mike comes back because he's been a ghost. He's lost all his traitorness, and he becomes a faithful again. And then those 3 are going to win the show together. Oh, and I just want to quickly say so with US season 2, I feel so bad for MJ. Like that I love a faithful win. I'm always after a faithful win, but that was the one where I was like, oh nah, man, that's so stink that someone can make it to the end, properly to the end, and just get ousted in that way. Oh man, and it makes me watching that made me go like, oh man, if we had voted off Brooke and it was Julia, me, and Anna, we probably would have voted off Julia as well, just because we wouldn't have known. I think, or we would have known the number. We were pretty good on the numbers actually. Maybe we would have been all right. But that whole thing just, oh man, it was such a yucky ending to a pretty good season. I thought. I felt a bit stink about that poor MJ. You're in our thoughts, MJ. I'm sorry you didn't win $250,000.
Yes,
well, that's funny.
Something that V and I were talking about, before we've gone live was because I think she's just finished US season 2, or she's watching at the moment. I think obviously I'm pretty biased because I'm from New Zealand. I think New Zealand is the best Traitors franchise there is in the world, and I feel like America's a close second, then UK, and then I'll probably go Australia, then Canada, just because I wasn't too invested in the Canadian one. But I feel like with New Zealanders, well, mostly with Americans, it's all reality TV stars, right? Which is pretty interesting. But they're playing a character, you know what I mean? They're playing with a legacy, whereas I feel like with you guys, didn't really have that, right? And so I feel like you guys were just more raw, just more natural. And like the drama that's cooking on this season is all just natural. It's not like, hey, look, I'm well known for causing chaos, so let me cause some chaos. It's like from genuine emotion. Would you say this is a fair assessment?
Batshit crazy people all over the US, and a certain number of people in this latest New Zealand season as well. But I think I think New Zealand is a really strong. It's a really strong franchise, like you say. I think our season had a lot of. I think we just had clever people. I think that's what they've done really well. Is they've cast clever people in every season. I'm not trying to say that I am, but well, I'm technically a doctor. But I think they've just put and the people, I know the producers who run the show, they're genuinely looking for smart people to put on there, and I think that comes through. And saying that, over all of them, everyone has been a smart person. We've never seen anyone that is an absolute dumbass on this show. Even the biggest idiots are people who are actually smart and just don't know what's going on, like because they can't. Some people would say that Joe in this season is that role, but he's a genius. That guy's a smart dude. He just doesn't really know the game. He's finding out the game as he's doing it, and he's playing up against people who have studied the game hardcore. And man, he's still there doing strong with not too much heat on himself.
Can it ban it, but can we disagree? The history is in the making. Mark agrees with Mucky. Mark, you're going to regret saying that. I've got the proof. I've got the receipts. I'm going to send it to Chris. I'm going to send it to Kahuna that you actually agree with me on something. But unfortunately, Sam, that does bring us to the end of our podcast. And can I let the audience in on a little secret for this podcast?
Do it, my friend. Do it right now. That's do it with a D.
Excellent with an E. For those who've been watching, if you've been noticing that Sam and I are, a bit wonky, with our sentences, that sometimes we just stare at the screen and just be very puzzled. Both of us are theatre sports legends, right, in our own way. And we thought for this podcast, we would play, in my opinion, the most fun theatre sports game there is, which is Alphabet. where each time you start a sentence, you have to start with a letter of the alphabet. V didn't join in on us, sadly, but it's been going A, B, C, D, E, F, G, etc., etc. Sam, you did wonderful in this game, man.
Thank you with an F very much. It was very fun. I genuinely lost track a couple of times. So and I was annoyed because I got X and Z both times. Like every time we did it, you had to do the Q's though. So that was all right. But man, you're a master of it. You said gosh and golly gosh a bunch of times, which was so funny.
Goodness gracious. I was really stuck on some of the words, like with Q. I think I said quite like every time. Like I was just so lost for words. But we do see a question here from Andre though. Traitors Oz versus New Zealand. Would you be keen on a season like that, Sam?
Holy heck yeah. So we're still doing the alphabet thing because we are. Like we're on H. Absolutely. I would 100% want to play this game again. It's so fun. I know I feel there's a bit of weight off my shoulders having already played the game before, and I got an absolute dream run. I could never relive that, and probably in any game ever again in the history of my life. So I know I would be there for a short time. And so I would make it an interesting time. I would really let the comedy man inside me shine and try out some things. The thing I've always wanted to do, if I was a traitor, I always thought it'd be really interesting to just randomly pick who you're going to murder. Get one of if there are 3 traitors, get one of you just to randomly pick someone, write down their name. So 2 of you can genuinely look surprised when you go in the next day, when whoever shows up, you're like, why did they murder them? That's so interesting. But secretly, it's because it was just random. And so it could be, it's that craziness that I love to see. And there've been so many great players on the Australian version of the show. I would love to see Annabelle have another shot. I would love to see. I really like Blake. I really felt for him and I really thought it was good. Craig from season 1 is one of in my season when I got to the final 3, and I was just thinking, is Anna doing what Alex did to Craig? Because Anna was so nice to me. She was so switched on and clever. I was like, I know this woman is clever. Is she Alexing me? Am I the Craig? Am I going to look like an idiot? But then the other thing with Craig is that he reached out to all of our cast from our season and just said, "Hey, look, it's a great show to be a part of. Welcome to the club." And I was like, "Oh, no, even if that does, if the game doesn't really work out for you, he will be this nice dude who." Like so there is life after the game. So I would I would love to. So many strong players from Australia that I would 100% jump at getting a chance to play. It'll be amazing.
I guess
are we up to I?
I guess that does wrap things up. But Sam, since Traitors New Zealand, you have been up to a lot of stuff, and here's a chance. Tell us, what have you been up to? You've been writing books, you've been doing shows. Tell us what's on the Sam agenda.
Just looking around the room to see if I can find a copy of my book that I've just released. I have a new kids book series out. It's called Miles and Jones. It's in stores now. It's an adventure series for kids aged 5 to 8. It's a graphic novel, illustrated, amazing illustrations by my friend Cesar Lador, who is just one of the greatest artists I've ever seen. We've been paired up together, which is just the best blessing for me because he's such a good artist. So that's available. I just got sent the cover for book 2 of the series, which is coming out in February. So get this one now, and then get that one next year. I'm hoping that we'll keep making them, as many of them as I can. So if people could buy them now, that'd be really good and really help lock in the fact that we could potentially make some more in the future. We've done that. I wrote the task for Taskmaster New Zealand season 5, which is coming out on August the 6th. So please watch that. There are 3 more episodes left of the 7 days, which I work on. So that over the next, one was on tonight. And then we've got 3 more weeks after this. I've got some gigs coming up throughout the country. I don't tend to do too much stand-up, but I've got the MS Auckland fundraiser night on September the 10th, which would be great to see people. I'm doing stand-up. That's how I got to where I am now. So I'll be knocking out some jokes again. Might play some guitar potentially. And what else am I doing? And then once 7 days finish, I'll be very free to do a bunch of other things as well, because it's quite. And I'm also we've got funding for a sitcom that I'm working on at the moment, which is very exciting. And hopefully we development funding too. So hopefully so watch the space, and hopefully that becomes a thing. So yes, and follow me at Sam Smith Comedy on all the things, and I will update you ad nauseum about them. It'll be great. And can I just say as well, thank you so much for having me. I genuinely love talking about this stuff so much. It's so fun. It's reliving one of the greatest things I've ever done. So it's always so nice. So thank you again for having me. I really appreciate it.
Okay, we got it. I ran almost with Kay at this point. But no, Sam, thank you so much for coming on, man. Like, when I got told us we were doing Traitors NZ, the two people who I really wanted to talk to was you and Julia. You know, like I'm someone who always believes, you know, you never forget your first, am I right? And both you and Julia were my first step dive. So how could I forget you guys? Honestly, how could I forget? But if you are new to the channel, though, please smash that subscribe button down below. And if you're enjoying Traitors NZ Season 2, let us know down in the comments. What's been your thoughts? In your opinion, what was the smartest move of the week? Was it, you know, Mark sacrificing himself? Was it Sam, like, you know, silently plotting everyone against each other when he's not even a part of the cast? Hashtag evil Sam. But until then, thank you guys so much. We'll be back on a regular day next Wednesday with Julia, with me, to break it all down. But until then, Kaki te anoa, and I'll see you guys next week. Have a good one, guys. Bye.